My name is Elaine Carter, and I never expected that at 62, I would have to defend myself against my own son's mother. I've lived in Tennessee my whole life, raised my boy with Southern manners, and believed in kindness, respect, and the simple idea that families should lift each other up, not tear each other down. But the day that woman threw hot soup in my face, I realized two things. Some people grow older, but they don't grow up. And sometimes, the only way to stop being the victim is to stop acting like one. It started 2 years after my son Ethan married Nicole. I loved Nicole like my own. At first, sweet girl, quiet voice, a little overwhelmed by life but always polite. What I didn't know was that her mother, Marjorie, controlled every corner of her life. Marjorie was the kind of woman who walked into a room and acted like she owned it. Tall, sharp eyes, a voice that sliced through conversations like a blade. She criticized everything from how I folded towels to the way I seasoned chicken, and she did it with a smile that said, "Bless your heart, you don't know anything." It got worse the moment Ethan and Nicole announced they were expecting their first baby. "Oh no, 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 no." Marjorie spat on the phone to Nicole, loud enough that I heard every word through the car Bluetooth. "You better not let his family take over. We'll do things my way." I kept quiet. It wasn't my place. Not yet. But months later, things started slipping. Nicole cried more. Ethan worked longer hours. Marjorie inserted herself into every decision. Doctor visits, baby names, nursery colors. She even demanded access to their home security cameras to monitor everything. I knew something was brewing, but I never expected the storm that hit. The day it happened, I was at their house, helping assemble a crib. Nicole was sitting on the couch, looking exhausted, swollen, and stressed beyond belief. Marjorie waltzed in without knocking. She always did, and wrinkled her nose like she had stepped into a dumpster. "You're doing it wrong," she said immediately. I looked at her calmly. "There's only one right way to assemble a crib, Marjorie, and I've done this before." She crossed her arms. "Well, clearly you didn't do it right the first time, considering how your son turned out." Nicole gasped softly. Ethan wasn't even home, and she still took a jab at him. I stood up slowly. "What exactly do you mean by that?" "You raised him too soft," she snapped. "Nicole needs a real man to take control, but instead she married someone who bows to everyone, especially you." I clenched my jaw, breathing slowly. "Ethan is a good man because I raised him to be respectful." She scoffed. "Respectful? He refuses to remodel the house for the baby." I told him we need a baby room with the correct lighting, paint, and appliances. "But no," he said. "My mom says the current setup is fine. So there it is. He listens to you, not his pregnant wife, not me." Ah, there it was. The real issue. She wanted control. Full control. Nicole whispered, "Mom, please, not today." But Marjorie was on a roll now. "You two don't know a thing about raising a baby. I did everything for Nicole. Everything. And if you think I'm letting this child grow up under your influence, enough." I held up my hand. "You're upsetting your daughter." "Oh, don't act holy, Elaine. If anything happens to this pregnancy, it'll be because you're stressing her." I stepped closer. "Lower your voice," she exploded. "Or what?" Before anyone could react, Marjorie grabbed the pot of boiling chicken noodle soup simmering on the stove. Nicole's dinner and flung it toward me. The world slowed. The heat hit first, like my skin was being slapped by fire. Nicole screamed. I stumbled backward, hands to my face, tears instantly streaming from the burn. The pot clattered on the floor. "Oh my God, Mom, what is wrong with you?" Nicole cried. Marjorie froze, chest rising and falling, eyes wide, not from guilt, but from fear of consequences, because she knew what she'd just done. She tried to shift blame immediately. She stepped in front of me. I didn't mean she startled me, but Nicole was already dialing Ethan in hysterics. And I stood there, my face burning, my heart pounding, my mind suddenly, chillingly cleared. Something inside me hardened. For years I tried to be civil, calm, polite. But that moment, something snapped. I walked into the living room, found my purse, pulled out my phone, and made the one call Marjorie never expected. One call that would turn this entire situation upside down. One call that changed everything. Asterisk. My hands still trembled as I held the phone, the heat from the soup lingering on my skin like an angry reminder. The pain was sharp, but what hurt more wasn't the burn, it was the realization that this woman, this grandmother to be, had so much hatred in her heart that she would lash out like that. Nicole was crying uncontrollably, hovering over me, begging me to sit down, to put cold cloths on my face, But I didn't sit, I didn't hide, and I didn't let the tears fall, not yet, not until I made that call. I dialed Sheriff Daniels, an old family friend from back when Ethan played Little League. But this wasn't a friendly chat. Not today, he answered with his usual gruff warmth. Elaine, everything all right? No, I said, my voice steady even though my insides shook. I need an officer at my son's house, now. I've been assaulted. Dead silence, on the other end. Who did this? He finally asked. I stared straight at Marjorie, who stood frozen near the stove, her hands shaking as she tried to look innocent. She opened her mouth to speak, but I cut her off. His mother-in-law, I said firmly. She threw boiling soup at me. Nicole gasped again, covering her mouth. She didn't think I would call the police. She didn't think anyone would, because Marjorie always got away with everything. Stay where you are, the sheriff said. I'm sending a unit. I hung up. Marjorie's face drained of color. Elaine, you don't want to do this. We're family. I stepped closer, still holding the phone. You stopped being family the moment you decided hurting me was easier than admitting you were wrong. She sputtered, searching for words. It was an accident. You were invading my space. You know, I cut in, my voice sharper than I had ever used with her. You did it because you're used to intimidation. You think yelling wins, bullying wins, but assault. I shook my head. That's where it ends. You're blowing this out of proportion. I pointed to my face, red and blistering near my cheek. Does this look like an overreaction? She folded her arms, trying to regain her control. Nicole, sweetheart, tell her to stop this nonsense. She's going to tear our family apart. Nicole stared at her. Mother really stared at her, as if seeing her clearly for the first time in years. Her lips trembled. Mom, she whispered, you could have hurt her badly. Or, the baby, if she fell. I can't defend you on this. Marjorie's face contorted. So you choose them over me? Nicole closed her eyes. Tears ran down her face. I just want peace. I'm so tired. Before Marjorie could respond, the front door opened. Ethan rushed in, his face pale and frantic. He ran straight to me. Mom, Jesus, what happened? Let me see. His voice broke when he saw the burns. Who did this to you? He already knew the answer. His eyes shot to Marjorie, full of a fury I hadn't seen since he was a teenager defending a kid being bullied at school. He growled. Marjorie held her ground. She's making it bigger than it is. She startled me. She doesn't startle, Ethan snapped. She's not a cat. You threw it. I didn't. Yes, you did, Nicole whispered. The doorbell rang. 2 deputies entered, hats in hand, professionalism thick in the air. The room that was moments ago chaotic fell silent, suffocating. Ma'am. The taller deputy addressed me. We received a report of an assault. Can you tell us what happened? Before I could speak, Marjorie jumped in. It was an accident. She slipped. She walked into the pot. Ma'am, the deputy said firmly, I wasn't speaking to you. I explained everything, calmly, clearly, exactly as it happened. The deputies examined my face, took photos, and then looked at the pot on the floor, the splatter across the cabinets, the burn mark on my shirt. Ma'am, one said to Marjorie, we're going to need you to step outside. Her face twisted. What? Why? I'm not the criminal here. I didn't say you were, he replied, but we need to ask questions separately. She turned to Nicole. Are you really letting them do this to me? Nicole didn't respond. She just hugged herself, shaking as the deputies escorted Marjorie outside. Ethan wrapped his arms around me. I'm so sorry, Mom. I should have been here. This isn't your fault, I whispered, finally allowing myself to lean into him. Nicole approached slowly. Her voice cracked. Elaine, I've been meaning to tell you something. I just didn't know how. I looked at her, waiting. She's been doing things like this since I was a kid, she whispered. Not throwing things, but screaming, manipulating, threatening. She always finds a way to blame someone else. She wiped her tears. I thought marriage would protect me. I thought moving out would help, but she followed me into every corner of my life. Ethan's jaw tightened. Why didn't you tell us? Nicole broke down, crying again. Because she always said if I tried to pull away, she would ruin my life. Call CPS. Tell everyone I wasn't ready for a baby. Tell the hospital I wasn't fit. And I was scared. She always made good on her threats. I put my hand on hers. That ends now. Outside, we could hear raised voices. Marjorie yelling at the deputies. They tried to calm her down, but she refused. Her voice carried through the house. This is ridiculous. She deserved it. She's been ruining everything. Ethan's eyes went wide. Did she just admit it? One deputy stepped back inside. We're placing her under arrest for assault and disorderly conduct. Nicole covered her mouth in shock. Ethan exhaled heavily, and I felt a weight lift from my shoulders. The deputy paused. Do you want to press charges, ma'am? The room froze. Nicole looked at me with fear, not fear of me, but fear of what would happen next. Ethan gently squeezed my arm. Whatever you decide, we're with you. I inhaled deeply. I could end this here, or I could send a message that would echo for years, a message that Nicole desperately needed anyone to deliver. I lifted my chin. Yes, I said, I want to press charges. And that decision, that one call would unravel everything Marjorie thought she controlled. And it would change our family forever. Asterisk. The moment I said, yes, I want to press charges, the air in the house shifted. It felt heavier, like everything that had been swept under the rug for years was finally being dragged into the light. Nicole looked torn, relieved, terrified, and exhausted all at once. Ethan stood a little straighter, his hand still on my shoulder, almost as if he feared I'd collapse. But I didn't. I couldn't afford to. I had to set a boundary, not just for me, but for Nicole and the baby growing inside her. The deputies guided Marjorie toward their patrol car, her shrill voice echoing through the neighborhood. You people are insane. You can't arrest me. I haven't done anything wrong. Nicole, do something. Tell them to stop. Tell them. Nicole stared down at her feet, tears dripping onto the hardwood floor. For the first time, she didn't respond to her mother's orders. A sharp, bitter laugh escaped Marjorie's throat. Of course. This is all her fault. Everything always is. She jerked her head toward me. You stole my daughter from me the moment your son dragged her into your pathetic little family. The deputy gently pushed her into the car. Ma'am, that's enough. Please lower your voice. I will not, she barked. I will not be treated. The door shut, muting her mid-rant, and just like that, silence fell. Nicole sank onto the couch, covering her face with both hands. Her entire body trembled. Ethan crouched beside her, rubbing her back. I'm sorry, Nicole whispered. I'm so sorry. I never wanted this to happen. I sat beside her. Sweetheart, your mother made her own choices. Nicole looked up, eyes swollen. You don't understand. She'll come after us for this. She'll never forgive me. She's done worse to people for less. Ethan frowned. What do you mean worse? Nicole hesitated, glancing toward the door as if afraid her mother would suddenly reappear. I've never told you this, she whispered, but when I was 17, I tried to move in with my aunt in Ohio, just for the summer. My mom got so angry she told the school counselor I was a danger to myself. They took me out of class and made me go through a psych evaluation. I was fine, but she made me look unstable so she could drag me back home. Ethan's mouth fell open. She did what? Nicole nodded, wiping tears with shaking hands. She told me afterward, don't ever try to leave me again. And I never did. Her voice broke. I reached for her hand. Nicole, you deserve better than this. You deserve safety. I don't even know what safety feels like, she whispered. Ethan kissed her forehead. You're going to know now. The deputies came back inside, their notepads ready. Ma'am, sir, we've taken Mrs. Hargrove into custody. She'll be held overnight. The deputy turned to me. You can file an official written statement at the station tomorrow morning. I nodded. I'll be there. Nicole looked panicked again. What happens after that? She'll have a court date, the deputy said. A judge will decide on bail and next steps. But he paused, softening his tone. It might also be an opportunity for you to request a protective order, if needed. Nicole inhaled sharply. Ethan tightened his hold on her. We'll talk about it, he said. After the deputies left, the house felt strangely hollow, quiet, but not peaceful. It was the kind of quiet that follows a storm that wasn't finished yet only paused. Ethan helped me into the guest bathroom. We gently cleaned my burns with cool water and applied aloe gel. The pain had dulled, but the skin was bright red, tender to the touch. I'm so sorry, Ethan whispered again, voice thick. I should have protected you, son, I said, cupping his cheek with my unburned hand. You are protecting me. Right now. He closed his eyes, leaning into my palm. My boy, always carrying the weight of everyone around him. A soft knock came from the door. Can I come in? Nicole asked quietly. Of course, I said. She stepped inside, holding a glass of water and a cold compress. Her hands were still trembling. For your face, she whispered, offering them to me. I pressed the compress gently against my cheek. Thank you, sweetheart. Nicole stood there awkwardly, twisting her fingers together. Then she whispered something so quietly, I almost didn't hear it. Will you stay with us tonight? Ethan blinked. Are you sure? Nicole nodded. I can't be alone right now. I know it sounds childish, but if she calls, or if she tries to show up when she's released. Her eyes filled again. I'm scared. Of course I'll stay, I said immediately. Her body slumped with relief. That night, after Ethan and Nicole went to bed, I sat alone in the living room, staring at the dim glow of the lamp. My cheek throbbed, my heart ached, but beneath the pain, a quiet determination settled. This wasn't just about me getting hurt. This was about a woman who had terrorized her own daughter for decades. This was about a baby who deserved to come into a family that wasn't controlled by fear. This was about breaking a cycle. My phone buzzed. It was an unknown number. My stomach dropped. I answered cautiously. A cold, familiar voice hissed through the speaker. You think you've won, don't you? My blood ran cold. It was Marjorie, calling from jail. I'm going to make you all pay for this, she whispered. You have no idea who you're dealing with. She hung up before I could respond. I stared at the screen, heart pounding. She wasn't done. She wasn't sorry. She wasn't scared. But she had just made a mistake. A big one. Because intimidation was a crime too. And I had proof. I exhaled slowly, whispering to myself, tomorrow, everything changes. Morning came far too early. I hadn't slept much. Every time I closed my eyes, I heard her voice again, that cold hiss from the jail phone, threatening revenge, as if she hadn't already crossed every boundary a human being should respect. Ethan and Nicole were still asleep when I slipped out to the porch with a cup of coffee. The air was crisp, the sky painted in soft pastels, but none of it soothed me. My cheeks still burned, physically and emotionally, but the wound inside, Nicole, was so much deeper than mine, and whatever happened next had to be for her, as much as it was for me. The door creaked open. Nicole stepped out slowly, wrapped in a blanket, her face puffy from crying. Couldn't sleep? I asked gently. She shook her head. I kept thinking about her, about what she'd do, what she'd say, how she'd twist this. I set my mug down and took her hand. She's in custody right now, and there's something you need to understand. This time, she's not in control. Nicole swallowed hard. That's what scares her the most. We sat together in silence, the weight of the last 24 hours sitting between us. After a while, she whispered, Can I tell you something? Something I've never said out loud. Of course. Nicole stared out at the yard, blinking slowly. Growing up, I used to wish someone would step in. Just once. I wanted an adult to look at what was happening and say, this isn't right. But that never happened. My heart cracked. I'm sorry, I said, squeezing her hand. You don't have anything to apologize for. She wiped her cheek. Maybe that's why I didn't tell Ethan everything. I didn't think anyone would believe me. Mom always makes sure she looks perfect to outsiders. I nodded. That's her mask. Nicole sighed, a shaky exhale. But when she threw that soup at you, it was like the world finally saw the real her. I turned toward her. Sweetheart, the world didn't see it. You saw it clearly, maybe for the first time. Nicole's lips quivered. Do you think pressing charges was the right thing? It was the necessary thing. She didn't respond, but she didn't pull away either. A moment later, Ethan came outside, his hair messy, eyes tired. Morning, he mumbled, then knelt next to Nicole. You okay? She leaned into him, trying to be. He kissed the top of her head. We'll get through this. After breakfast, Ethan drove me to the sheriff's office to complete my official statement. Nicole stayed home. She was too shaken, and frankly, she needed rest. The sheriff greeted me with a sympathetic nod. Elaine, I'm real sorry about all this. Let's get this taken care of. I wrote everything down, from the moment she entered the kitchen to the moment the soup hit my face. I told them about her phone call from jail and her threat. The sheriff's eyebrows shot up at that. You still have the call? He asked. Yes, that's harassment, an intimidation of a victim. He scribbled notes. This is getting serious. I nodded slowly. She made it serious. After finishing, Ethan and I stepped out into the sunlight. He walked quietly, hands shoved into his pockets. I could tell he was wrestling with guilt. Say it, I said softly. He looked at me. I should have done more. I should have kept Nicole away from her. I should have seen the signs. I put a hand on his arm. You were raised to see the good in people. That's not a flaw. It feels like one. It's not. My voice softened. But now, you see the danger. And now you know what you need to protect your family from. He nodded, jaw tight. We got home around noon. Nicole was on the couch, scrolling through her phone. When she saw us, her face paled. What's wrong? Ethan asked. She handed him the phone. It's my mom. She posted a long message about us. My stomach sank. We read it together. It was a full-blown Facebook rant, paragraphs of lies, distortions, and accusations. I was assaulted by my daughter's manipulative mother. She attacked me in the kitchen. They're trying to tear me away from my grandchild. Please pray for me. I'm the victim of elder abuse. Elder abuse. She was 61. I was 62. The irony was almost laughable if it weren't so infuriating. Nicole's hands shook uncontrollably. She's already turning people against us. Comments flooded in from her church friends, book club ladies, acquaintances she hadn't spoken to in years. Praying for you, Marjorie. Stay strong. You don't deserve this. Some people are so jealous of your relationship with your daughter. Nicole whispered. This is what she does. She attacks first and makes herself the victim. Ethan threw the phone onto the couch. This is insane. I inhaled deeply. Let her talk. The law doesn't care about Facebook posts. The truth will come out. Nicole nodded slowly, but I could tell the damage was already seeping in. She felt exposed, betrayed, embarrassed, and then, as if on cue, her phone buzzed again. This time, it was her aunt, her mother's sister. Nicole answered with shaky hands. Hello. A softer voice responded through the speaker. Sweetheart, I saw your mother's post, and I don't believe a word of it. Nicole gasped. Tears flooded instantly. Aunt Linda continued. I've known your mother for 60 years. I've seen exactly what she's capable of. If she's been arrested, there was a reason. Nicole sobbed into her hands. Ethan held her tight, whispering, You're okay, honey. You're okay. Aunt Linda went on. Listen, I have something you both need to know, and it's time I finally say it. Nicole froze. Ethan and I exchanged a glance. Linda took a shaky breath. Your mother did the same thing to me. The same rage, the same manipulation, the same threats. I left home at 19 because of her, and she's never forgiven me for it. Nicole's eyes widened. Why didn't you tell me? Because she told everyone I abandoned the family, that I was unstable, that I was cruel. Linda paused. She lies fast. She lies loudly, and people always believe the loudest voice in the room. Nicole's breath hitched as she realized something devastating. Her painful experience wasn't unique. She wasn't crazy. She wasn't dramatic. She wasn't oversensitive. She was a survivor. Aunt Linda sighed. Sweetheart, press the charges. Don't back down. This isn't just about the soup. It's about a lifetime of abuse, and she won't stop unless someone stops her. Nicole cried harder, but this time, it wasn't fear, it was release. When the call ended, Nicole buried her face in my shoulder. I'm done being scared, she whispered. I'm done letting her control me. I hugged her tightly. Then that's the first step, I said softly, toward freedom. And in that moment, I knew, this fight was no longer just mine, it was Nicole's too. The days following, Marjorie's arrest felt strangely calm, almost too calm. The house no longer vibrated with tension. No one was walking on eggshells. No one was bracing for impact every time a phone buzzed. But beneath that layer of temporary peace, deeper currents stirred. Nicole was unraveling years of trauma one breath at a time. Ethan was battling guilt he didn't deserve. And I was nursing a burn that hurt less than the memories of what happened. On Monday morning, Nicole's therapist called a therapist she used to see quietly, secretly, afraid her mother would find out. I told her what happened, Nicole admitted. She wants to see me today. I felt a sense of relief wash through me. That's good, really good. Ethan agreed. You should go. I will, she murmured. But first, we need to get a restraining order. She said it with a steadiness I hadn't heard from her before. Ethan grabbed his keys. Then that's what we'll do. At the courthouse, the clerk walked us through the paperwork. Nicole insisted on filling out her own section, even though her hands trembled. The questions were direct, sometimes brutal. Has the respondent threatened you or your family before? Has the respondent ever physically harmed you? Do you fear for your safety? Nicole checked yes on nearly every line. Halfway through, she paused, exhaling a shaky breath. I always thought I was overreacting, she whispered. I placed my hand on hers. You weren't. You never were. We submitted the forms, and the clerk told us there would be an emergency hearing later that afternoon. Nicole nodded silently. Ethan wrapped his arm around her as we walked out. She's not going to be able to hurt us again, he whispered. Not this time. We returned home for lunch. I tried to prepare something simple, grilled cheese and tomato soup, before freezing mid-stir. The irony hit me so hard my stomach tightened. Nicole walked in and saw the pot on the stove. Her face tightened. Elaine, you don't have to cook. Not today. I stepped away from the stove. Good idea. We ordered takeout instead. While we waited for the delivery, Nicole suddenly spoke. What if she gets out today? Ethan shook his head. The judge will see what she did. They'll keep her longer. But Nicole wasn't convinced. She always talks her way out of things. She cries. She plays victim. She convinces people she's harmless. I took a breath. Sweetheart, this time isn't like the others. There were officers, photos, my statement, the threat she made on the phone, and your aunt's testimony if she chooses to provide it. Nicole looked down. She will. She already told me she's ready. That seemed to calm her a little, but our peace didn't last long. Around 1:30 p.m., as we were preparing to head to the emergency hearing, Ethan's phone rang. He frowned and answered, "Hello." A pause. Then Ethan's expression changed. What do you mean she's out on bail already? Nicole's knees buckled. I reached out to catch her. Ethan's jaw clenched. Thank you for letting us know. Yes, we'll be careful. He hung up slowly. She's out, he said. The room froze. What? Nicole whispered. She assaulted someone. Her attorney argued she was the one attacked. Ethan said bitterly. They claimed injuries to Mina to warrant holding her longer. Nicole's hands flew to her face. Oh my God, she's going to come here. She's going to show up. No, Ethan said firmly. We're going straight to the courthouse. We'll be surrounded by officers. My phone buzzed. My stomach dropped. The caller ID read, unknown number. Ethan snatched the phone from my hand and turned it off. No more answering unknown calls. Nicole's breathing grew shallow. She's going to retaliate. I know how she thinks. She's going to try to scare us before the hearing. We're not giving her the chance, Ethan said, grabbing our coats. But the moment we stepped onto the porch, we saw something that made Nicole gasp. A car was slowly rolling down the street, her mother's car. The same burgundy sedan we all recognized. She's here, Nicole whispered. The car didn't stop. It crawled slowly past the house, like a predator circling prey. The windows were tinted, but we all knew who was inside. Ethan pulled Nicole behind him protectively. He glared at the car as it passed. She can't approach us, he muttered. Not without violating bail conditions. She knows that. The car reached the stop sign at the end of the street and idled there for a long, unsettling moment, then finally drove away. Nicole was shaking violently. I wrapped my arms around her. She's trying to intimidate us. That's all this is. Don't give her the power. Nicole's breath hitched. I'm trying, but she's always been the monster under my bed. Even when I moved out, I could still hear her voice in everything I did. Ethan held her tighter. Today, we're ending that, for good. At the emergency hearing, the courtroom felt cold and sterile. Nicole squeezed Ethan's hand until her knuckles were white. I stood beside them, my cheek still visibly burned. When the judge called our case, Nicole stepped forward, voice trembling but strong enough to carry. She told the judge everything. The fights. The threats. The manipulation. The years of psychological abuse. The pregnancy stress. The soup. The phone call from jail. The car outside our house. I added my testimony. The deputy's report corroborated everything. When we finished, the judge leaned back, face grave. Mrs. Hargrove's behavior amounts to harassment, intimidation, and domestic abuse. Given the circumstances, I grant the emergency protection order. Nicole sagged with relief, but the judge wasn't finished. And in light of the intimidation incident today, I am expanding the distance requirement from 100 yards to 500 yards, effective immediately. Nicole burst into tears, but this time, they were tears of release. Ethan held her. I felt my own eyes sting. It was a victory, a real one. But when we stepped outside the courthouse, a chilling sight awaited us. A woman stood across the street, half hidden behind a pillar, watching us. Her hair disheveled, her eyes cold, her posture rigid with fury. Marjorie, the moment she saw Nicole's eyes meet hers, she gave a slow, calculated smile, the kind that said, "This isn't over." And then she turned and walked away. Nicole collapsed into Ethan's arms, sobbing. I exhaled slowly, dark resolve settling in my chest. No, I whispered under my breath. This isn't over, but it will be soon. Everything inside me shifted after that meeting with the detective. For weeks, I had been operating from a place of fear for my son's future, fear for my granddaughter's safety, fear that Eleanor would twist the story and leave me defenseless. But now I had facts, I had evidence, I had the truth, and more importantly, I had time, because Eleanor had no idea what was coming. The next few days went oddly quiet. My son stayed focused on therapy and short-term custody meetings. Lily, my granddaughter, spent her afternoons drawing pictures of us little crayon families with big heads and stick arms. Every time she handed me one, I felt both joy and heartbreak. Joy because she trusted me, heartbreak because she shouldn't have to draw. Safe people at 4 years old. But the silence from Eleanor, that silence was dangerous. She wasn't the type who admitted defeat. She wasn't the type who backed down. If she was quiet, it meant she was plotting. And I was right. It started on a Wednesday morning. I heard a car door slam outside, loud, sharp, angry, peeked through the blinds and immediately felt my chest tighten. Eleanor standing in my driveway, arms crossed, eyes full of fire, dressed in her most dramatic, courtroom-ready outfit like she was auditioning for a legal drama instead of being the cause of one. I took a breath. Stay inside, I whispered to my son. He nodded, clutching Lily, who reached for me with tiny, confused hands. I stepped onto the porch. The wind was cold. The tension was colder. What do you want, Eleanor? She smirked. Oh, you know exactly why I'm here. Her heels clicked angrily against the pavement as she approached. I've heard, she continued, that your little detective friend thinks he has something on me. I didn't answer. She stepped closer, lowering her voice. You're making a mistake, going after me. You don't know who you're dealing with. I swallowed. Actually, Eleanor, I know exactly who I'm dealing with. That through her smile faltered. Just a bit. I'm not intimidated by you, I said steadily. Not anymore. Her expression twisted anger mixed with disbelief. Oh please, she scoffed. You're nothing. You're a lonely old woman, desperate to cling to relevance in your son's life. Her words stung, but I didn't flinch. You assaulted me, I reminded her quietly. And you lied about it. She blinked too fast. I tell. You created a toxic home for Lily. Her jaw tightened. And you tried to isolate my son, financially and emotionally. Her nostrils flared. But the best part, I continued, is that you left a trail. And that trail leads straight to the truth. For the first time, I saw fear in her eyes. Just a flicker. Just enough to confirm everything. You think you're so smart, she hissed. You think you've won something. No, I said. I think Lily has won something. A safer life. Her face went red. This isn't over. Oh, I know, I replied softly. But you're not going to like how it ends. She stared at me, shaking, speechless for the first time since I had known her. Then she turned, stormed back to her car, and peeled out of the driveway so aggressively she nearly hit my mailbox. The moment she was gone, my son stepped outside. Mom, his voice shook. What did she say? I wrapped an arm around him. She's scared, I told him. And a scared bully makes mistakes. Big ones. I was right again. 2 days later, Detective Harris called. Good news, he said. We got the last piece. A neighbor came forward with security footage from the night of the incident. It shows you clearly walking away from Eleanor's home and her coming after you. My breath caught. That proves I didn't confront her. It proves even more, he replied. Proves she followed you aggressively. And combined with her online messages, it's damning. I closed my eyes in relief. Get ready, he said. She's not going to take this quietly. And she didn't. Because the next morning, at 8:17 a.m., my phone buzzed, nonstop, friend requests, messages, random calls, people from the community, people I didn't even know. Why? Because the footage had leaked, not from me, not from the detective, someone else, someone closer. Within hours, the whole town and half the county had seen Eleanor screaming at me in her driveway like a villain straight out of a reality meltdown. And that was only the beginning. More people came forward. More testimonies. More stories of her cruelty that matched her pattern perfectly. Her image destroyed. Her reputation shattered. Her control gone. My son got temporary full custody. Within days, a judge issued a restraining order, and Eleanor, she was finally, officially held accountable. The story wasn't over yet. Because one evening just after sunset, my phone rang again. The caller ID froze my breath. Eleanor. My finger hovered. Should have ignored it, but something maybe closier made me answer. I put it to my ear. What she said, that changed everything all over again. My hand trembled as I lifted the phone to my ear. For a second, all I heard was uneven breathing, like someone had been crying or running or both. Then finally, "Are you happy now?" Her voice was sharp, cracked at the edges. I didn't answer. "You ruined my life," she spat. "I hope you're proud of yourself." I took a breath, steady and calm. "I didn't ruin anything, Eleanor. You did." She let out a bitter laugh that didn't sound like her usual venom. It sounded panicked. "You think you're some kind of hero. You think you saved your son." "My son saved himself," I said, "and I protected my granddaughter. Something you should have done." Silence. Then, "You destroyed my reputation. My job suspended me. My parents saw the video. My friends are avoiding me. You've taken everything from me." "That was your behavior," I replied, "not mine." More silence, followed by a trembling breath. Then she said something I did not expect. "I need help." I blinked. "What?" "I need help," she repeated. "I'm losing control of everything. And maybe I deserve it, but I can't breathe anymore. I don't know what to do." For a moment, the woman on the phone didn't sound like the monster who flung hot soup at me, sabotaged my son, manipulated everyone, and made our lives hell. She sounded lost, broken, human. "I am not the person you think I am," she whispered, "but I don't know how to be anything else anymore." My heart twisted only for a moment, because even though she seemed vulnerable, I wasn't naive. Eleanor's vulnerability always came with a motive. "What do you want from me?" I asked carefully. She hesitated. "I want you to tell the court I didn't mean to hurt you, that it was an accident, that it was a misunderstanding." There it was. "The real reason for the call," she continued, voice trembling but calculated. "If you help me, I'll leave your family alone. I won't fight for custody. I won't chase your son. I'll move on. But you have to help me first." My stomach turned. She was bargaining, blackmailing, but dressed up as desperation. "I can't do that," I said quietly. Her voice changed instantly, snapping from fragile to furious. "Why not?" she barked. "You've already taken everything. Why can't you at least let me save myself?" "Because it wouldn't be the truth," I answered. "And because lying for you is how we all ended up in this nightmare." "Oh, grow up," she snarled. "Everyone lies." "Not anymore," I said. "Not me. Not my son. Not for you." There was a long silence. A dangerous silence. Then she whispered, "You're going to regret this. Threatening me won't help you." "It's not a threat," she said. "It's a promise." And just like that she hung up. That night, something inside me shifted again. Her words echoed in my head, but not out of fear, out of clarity. Because the more Eleanor unraveled, the more truth came to light. 2 days later, Detective Harris called again. "We found something," he said. "Something big." My heart dropped. "What is it?" "It's about Eleanor's financial activity, and her connection to your son's credit issues." I froze. "What about it?" "Turns out," he explained, "she didn't just manipulate him financially, she committed identity-related crimes. Your son's accounts weren't accidentally compromised." I gripped the edge of the counter, knuckles white. "She opened credit lines in his name," he said plainly. "Multiple, for months." My stomach twisted. "And there's more," he added. "She tried to transfer debt into his name right before the split." I felt sick. My poor son, already dealing with emotional abuse, had been financially sabotaged, too. "She's in serious trouble," the detective continued. "This goes beyond assault. This is fraud, coercion, and financial abuse." I exhaled shakily. "Does my son know?" "He will. We're calling him next." I thanked him and hung up, but my mind didn't stop spinning. If Eleanor was willing to do that, who knew what else she was capable of? That evening, my son came into the living room, pale and shaking. "Mom," his voice cracked. Why didn't I see it? I opened my arms and he collapsed into them, shoulders shaking. "It wasn't your fault," I whispered. "She manipulated you. She controlled you. No one sees clearly in the middle of abuse. But how could she do that to me? How could someone who claimed to love me, because love wasn't what she wanted?" I said softly. "She wanted power." He sobbed harder, and I held him like I did when he was 5 years old and scraped his knee. We weren't just healing from an incident, we were healing from years of unseen damage. That night, my son slept on the couch near Lily's playroom, needing to feel close to her. I stayed awake, listening to their breathing, reminding myself that we were safe, at least for now. The next morning, the situation exploded. Eleanor was arrested, not just for the assault, not just for harassment, but for felony-level financial crimes. Her mugshot spread through local social media like wildfire. Her family made a public statement, distancing themselves. Her job terminated her. Her attorney withdrew from the case. In the middle of all this chaos, my phone buzzed again. An unknown number, a text message. You think this is over? It's not. I stared at the screen, heart hammering, because even from behind bars, Eleanor wasn't done. And what came next would be the most shocking moment of all. The moment I read that text. You think this is over? It's not. I felt something cold settle in my stomach. Not fear, not panic, just a chilling realization. Even from a jail cell, Eleanor still wanted control. I took a screenshot and immediately forwarded it to Detective Harris. Within minutes, my phone rang. Don't respond, he said firmly. We'll trace it. And they did. By noon, I received another call. We identified the source. Detective Harris said it came from inside the detention center. She used another inmate's contraband phone. My jaw dropped. She's still trying to intimidate us. She's spiraling, he said. But the good news is, this makes everything even worse for her. Harassment from custody is a serious violation. It helps your case. For the first time since this nightmare began, I felt truly protected. A week later, court day, the courthouse felt cold, sterile, full of echoes. Parents, lawyers, clerks, everyone moved with serious purpose. My son walked beside me, pale but steady, holding a folder of documents and letters from therapists attesting to Eleanor's impact on him and Lily. I squeezed his arm. You're doing the right thing. He nodded. I know. I never thought my life would look like this. Life gets messy, I said, but it also gets better. We sat down in the courtroom. The doors opened a few minutes later, and Eleanor walked in, escorted by 2 deputies. She looked nothing like the woman who used to belittle us with flawless makeup, tailored dresses, and smug smiles. Her hair was unkempt. Her eyes were hollow. Her confidence was gone. She didn't look powerful. She looked small. When she saw us, especially my son, her face contorted. Anger, sorrow, humiliation, maybe even regret. A painful cocktail. She opened her mouth like she wanted to say something, but the deputies positioned her forward. The judge entered moments later, and the hearing began. The courtroom unravels everything. Prosecution presented video of the soup assault, screenshots of Eleanor's threats and messages, witness statements, footage of her following me down the driveway, documentation of her fraudulent financial accounts, textbook patterns of coercive control. Her attempt to intimidate us from Jalich's piece landed like a hammer. Eleanor's attorney, her new court-appointed one, looked exhausted by the time it was his turn. He tried to argue stress. He tried to argue mental health. He tried to argue misunderstanding. But the evidence was too strong, too clear, too damning. Then the judge asked if anyone wanted to make a victim statement. My son stood. His voice was shaky, but he spoke with more strength than I had ever seen in him. He talked about the cycle of control, the emotional abuse, the humiliation, the hopelessness that he talked about being isolated from friends and family, about believing he deserved it, about not recognizing the signs until it was almost too late. He looked at the judge and said, I thought I was protecting my daughter, but the truth is my mother saved both of us. My eyes stung with tears. Then he turned to Eleanor. I didn't want this. I didn't want any of it to end this way. But I can't let Lily grow up thinking this behavior is normal. I can't let her live in fear. I won't let history repeat itself. Eleanor's face crumpled. For the first time I saw genuine remorse trying to break through the cracks. But remorse after destruction is not redemption. It's just regret. The judge nodded and delivered her ruling. The final judgment, full custody awarded to my son. Eleanor granted supervised visitation only, restraining order extended for me. Mandatory therapy, community service fines, criminal charges formally filed, and no contact outside legal, supervised channels. The decision hit Eleanor like a blow. She stumbled slightly, gripping the edge of the table. When court adjourned, deputies guided her out, but right before she disappeared through the side door, she turned her head just enough to look at me. Her lips trembled. She softly mouthed something. I'm sorry. For a moment my breath caught, because despite everything, some part of me had hoped she would eventually see the truth. Not for me. Not even for my son. But for Lily. But apologies whispered through tears, after consequences are not the apologies that heal, they are the apologies that come too late. 6 months later, peace at last lie, slowly settled into something gentle again. My son focused on rebuilding his credit, his confidence, and his sense of self. Therapy helped, support groups helped, time helped. Lily blossomed. She laughed more, she slept better, she ran through the house with her princess dresses and cowboy boots and mismatched barrettes. She no longer flinched when someone raised their voice. She no longer curled into herself during arguments. She no longer asked, "Do we have to go back there?" One sunny afternoon, she ran up to me holding a drawing. It was us, on a porch. With a big yellow sun behind us. I pointed at the third figure. "And who's that?" "That's Daddy." She giggled. "And that little one?" "That's me." "And this one?" I asked softly. She beamed. "That's you, Grandma." Something warm bloomed in my chest. I lifted her into my arms and kissed her forehead. "We're safe now," I whispered. "We're finally safe." The final phone call months after the court hearings. I got one last unexpected call, a blocked number. I hesitated before answering. It was Eleanor's mother. Her voice was polite, quiet, older than I expected. "I thought you should know. Eleanor is in treatment, intensive treatment." She finally admitted she needs help. I closed my eyes. "How is she doing?" I asked gently. "She's working on herself," the woman said, slowly, carefully. For the first time, there was a pause. "I know she hurt your family," her mother added, "but I want you to understand sometimes broken people break others, not because they want to, but because they don't know how to stop." I swallowed. "I hope," I said, "that someday she finds who she could have been." "We hope so too," she whispered. "And thank you for not letting her destroy your son." I hung up, feeling something I hadn't felt in a long time. Closure, not forgiveness, not forgiveness, not friendship, not reconciliation, just closure. The door that had haunted us had finally, fully closed. The final scene, moving forward that evening, my son stood on the porch with me, watching Lily chase fireflies across the yard. He sighed. "We're okay, Mom," he said softly. "We're really okay." "Yes," I whispered. "We are." He looked at me with gratitude so deep it almost broke me. "Thank you," he said, "for making that call, for standing up, for saving us." I shook my head. "No," I corrected him. "You saved yourself." I just answered my phone. We stood in peaceful silence as the sun dipped below the horizon. The nightmare was behind us. The healing had begun. And for the first time in a long time, the future felt bright. Subscribe for more stories.